Leonard Leffler with
Fairfield Prep is in familiar territory as they look to defend their 2012 Class L state crown. Staples, on the other hand, is the newcomer in their first ever Class L championship. It's boys lacrosse state championship action, Fairfield Prep versus Staples, and it's next right here on MSG Varsity. Good afternoon and welcome to Brian McMahon High School here in Norwalk, Connecticut. It's the Class L state championship game in boys lacrosse, and it pits the Fairfield Prep Jesuits against the Staples Wreckers. So taking a look at the bracket, the defending champions Fairfield making it back to the final for the second year in a row, looking for their second straight Class L championship. Staples, on the other hand, kind of a Cinderella story. First time in the state championship game since 1999, and that was before they disbanded the divisions. John Lauder here along with Joe Lombardi. Big matchup here, obviously, between Fairfield Prep and Staples. And Joe, like we mentioned, it's the established against the newcomer Staples. A big run here, but facing a powerhouse in Fairfield Prep.
Yeah, this Fairfield Prep team has been tested by a tough schedule. We'll get into it during the telecast, but certainly the Jesuits right now are playing at the top of their game. Staples, meanwhile, defensively, I think, John, as good as anyone you will find, and as you mentioned, looking to win a first ever state championship, so plenty to play for the Wreckers.
And the big contrast between these two teams, like you just mentioned, Joe, the offensive Fairfield Prep and the defensive Staples, that brings us to our key players.
Yes, Tim Edmonds for Fairfield Prep. This is a kid coming off a 3-goal performance in a huge 12-9 win over Ridgefield in the semifinals that catapulted the Jesuits back here to the state title game for the 8th game in a row. John, this kid is a hockey player. He has tremendous stick skills, and he is an Ivy League lacrosse player as well. So Staples defense will have its hands full. And talking about that Staples defense, some outstanding Division I talent here. Quinn Mendelson heading off to Boston U. A kid who's really been playing well. Lance Lonergan, number 10. Folks know that name from football. He is a hard-hitting, aggressive linebacker with optimum size. We will see it on display here. And as I talked about, Staples defensively is really going to have to do the job here today if it is going to pull off an upset. And don't make any mistake about it, folks. This would be an upset if the Wreckers were to come away with the win.
So can Fairfield Prep do it again? Or like Joe mentioned, will Staples pull the upset? It's the Class L state championship game in boys lacrosse. Fairfield Prep and Staples will have the starting lineups and the opening face-off coming up in just a minute right here on MSG Varsity.
How much longer do I have to grate these carrots?
Let me see. You know you should grate them a little smaller.
No, they'll be fine. Come on.
Okay.
Spices. Coriander?
Yep. And don't forget the chilies. Lots of them.
Really? I think this is enough chili.
At Optimum, we know a reliable connection means more than good service. It means staying in touch with the ones you love.
Who's that boy?
What? Nobody?
No, I saw someone right there.
$3.50, right? $3.50 on the other?
No wonder more people choose Optimum Online than any other internet provider.
I should probably...
The off-season promised success.
I've waited my whole life for this.
The season delivered the unexpected.
Turned out to be a Jones fracture. His 5th metatarsal.
A star player's senior year.
Kind of a tough pill to swallow.
A coach's final season.
Good job! The truth of the matter is I don't want to coach anymore after this.
And a story you'll never forget. MSG Varsity presents an original documentary event. New Jersey's Last Patriot. The whole story. Part of MSG Varsity's endless summer.
The biggest games in high school sports play here at MSG Varsity. And now you can access the action with mobile access. Download the MSG Varsity app for all the latest game highlights, scores, photos, and top stories right in the palm of your hand. Create customized settings filled with your favorite sports from your school and community. Now, MSG Varsity goes wherever you go. Go to mobile access and download our app today at msgvarsity.com.
About to get things underway here from Brian McMahon High School. John Lauder and Joe Lombardi with you. It's the Connecticut Class L State Championship game in boys lacrosse between the Staples Wreckers and the Fairfield Prep Jesuits. We'll start with the starters for Fairfield Prep, 17-4 on the season. Their head coach is Chris Smallkeis, and Smallkeis, 26th year as the head coach here at Fairfield Prep. Looking at the starters for the Jesuits at attack, number 15, John Edmonds, number 22, Tim Edmonds, and number 41, Kevin Brown. In the midfield, number 4, Sean Henry, number 8, David White, and number 18, Austin Sims. Defensively, number 3, Strecker Backey, number 6, Andrew Hatton, and number 24, Anthony Johnson. And in goal for Fairfield is number 10, Connor Henry. Now looking at the starters for the home team, the 16-4 Staples Wreckers, their head coach is Paul McNulty, his 5th year as the head coach at Staples High School. The starters for the Wreckers at attack, it's Colin Bannon, John Pacilio, and Will Johnson. At the midfield, Tucker Bobrow, Joey Zelkowitz, and Greg Strauss. Defensively, number 10, Lance Lonergan, Quinn Mendelson, and Alec Yass. And in goal is number 12, Cole Gendels for Staples. And looking at the tail of the tape, and Joe, both of these schools, great seasons this year. We talked about Fairfield being the team expected to be here. It's Staples that pulled off the shocker, getting to the Class L final.
Yeah, you know, this Staples team has been tested by a very tough schedule, and right now is playing outstanding lacrosse. After losing to Greenwich in the quarterfinals of the FCAC tournament, reeling off 3 straight wins, and John, that streak highlighted by a revenge game against Greenwich, a 6-5 win. The same Greenwich team that also beat Staples 8-3 very early in the season. So after losing to Greenwich twice, coming back, beating them, and advancing now to the state final. An incredible run for Paul McNulty and the Wreckers.
Assistant coaches for Fairfield Prep are Kevin Rita and Andrew Kirkaldy. The assistants for Staples, Matt Johnson, Drew Smith, and Paul Burke. Captains for the Jesuits, Andrew Hatton, Tim Edmonds, and Kevin Brown. The captains for the Wreckers, H. Jared Levy, Lance Lonergan, Joey Zelkowitz, and Quinn Mendelson. Referees for today's game, Mike Infantino, Bill Cashman, Pete Weaver, and Gene Cronin. Staples going from right to left in the white uniforms with navy numbers and lettering and white shorts. Fairfield Prep, red uniform, white numbers and lettering, red shorts with the white stripe.
And as always, we always start by talking about face-offs and what a key they are in the game of lacrosse. John, when you get into a championship environment, the teams are usually pretty even in possession, so critical. And right here, Staples, the underdog, is awarded possession off the opening face-off. Jared Levy getting credit for the win.
And 2 number 9s on the face-off, H. Jared Levy for Staples and Troy Forright for Fairfield Prep. So Staples with the first possession of the game, 10 seconds into this Class L state championship game. And we'll talk about this all game long. Staples, the underdog, making a magical run to this state championship game against the powerhouse, and Fairfield Prep looking for their 2nd straight Class L championship.
And we're going to look for Staples to run a settled offense. It has been effective in the postseason. If you look at the scores in these big wins the Wreckers have come up with, John, they have been low-scoring, settled games. Certainly, Staples does not want to have to go up and down the field with the team as talented as Fairfield Prep. And this is a Staples team that beat Simsbury 4-2 in the state semis. That's a baseball score if ever there was one in the game of high school lacrosse.
And that's why the defense for Staples will be so key against this high-powered Fairfield offense. You mentioned the score, Staples so far with just 19 goals in 3 games in the state tournament. And Joey Zelkowitz getting batted around and hard by number 24, Anthony Johnson for Fairfield Prep. Staples taking their time, minute and 12 seconds into the first quarter here at Brian McMahon High School. John Lauder and Joe Lombardi here with you on MSG Varsity.
And we're seeing Fairfield Prep right off the bat come out and pressure as Staples patiently runs its offense, applying ball pressure, try and cause a turnover, and not let them run the clock the way they have been successful in the early going.
Colin Bannon looking for the opportunity, and that bounce shot is good for Staples. Colin Bannon gets the Wreckers on the board first with 10:25 left in the first quarter. It's 1-0 Staples.
Just a nice straight alley dodge for Colin Bannon, the senior. He can play attack or midfield. He's a versatile player, dodges well. You saw it there. Good aggressiveness by Staples. Ran about a minute and 35 seconds off the clock, off that opening face-off win by Jared Levy, and it ends with the score by Colin Bannon. 1-0 lead for the upset-minded Staples Wreckers.
And huge for Staples to get on the board first with the offense that Fairfield Prep brings to the table. Staples will have to score goals in order to win this game. So it's Forright and Levy once again on the face-off. The first face-off was won by Staples, but this time Fairfield Prep will get their opportunity, so a chance to see this high-powered Jesuit squad on offense for the first time.
And the ruling is a hold on that face-off, awarding possession to the Jesuits, and they have their first offensive possession of the game. This is an explosive Fairfield Prep offense with John and Tim Edmonds on attack, as well as Kevin Brown, all those guys putting up big numbers, and some talented players in midfield. Right there, Austin Sims, number 18, heading off to Princeton University, only a junior.
David White now with the possession up at the football 25, is double teamed, but manages to keep possession. And the Wreckers known for their aggressive defense, and we're seeing it early.
Staples very aggressive, but that's going to lead to some openings.
The shot and the opportunity there is good for number 22, Tim Edmonds for Fairfield Prep. And the senior off to Harvard, talked about him in the pregame. Edmonds gets Fairfield Prep on the board. 9:33 left in the first, and we're tied at 1.
Sometimes when you're an underdog, you come out in a passive zone and try and force perimeter shots. Staples came out very aggressively, double teaming, and that created an opening. And it wound up going into the stick of Edmonds, senior captain, who, as you mentioned, we talked about in the pregame, coming off the 3-goal performance against Ridgefield in the semis. He drills it in, perfectly placed shot, and just like that, we're tied up at 1-1.
And we knew Fairfield Prep would come with the goals. The biggest key for Staples, they can win this 2 ways. In a low-scoring game, which they're used to, or scoring well above what they normally do. Can they do that if they get into a high-scoring game with Fairfield Prep? It would be unlikely, but the Jesuits, such a good scoring squad. Possession now with Staples. Will Johnson behind the cage. Now goal line extended here on the near side. It's Colin Bannon who scored the first goal of the game for the Wreckers. 9 minutes even left in this first quarter. We're tied at 1 here in the Class L championship between Staples and Fairfield Prep.
Staples in the state title game. For only the second time in school history, the Wreckers have never won a state title, and they're going against a team that's been in the finals 8 straight years. If that doesn't say underdog, I don't know what was. And in 1999, the last state final appearance, John, it was an 11-8 loss to South Windsor for Staples.
And that was before they disbanded the division, so this is their first Class L state championship situation. And like you mentioned, over a decade since they've been in a state final. And we weren't joking about the underdog versus powerhouse mentality here as Fairfield Prep, one of the top programs in all of Connecticut. But Staples so far pretty aggressive on offense. They've got shots on the cage and already have a goal to show for themselves here with 8:23 left in the first quarter.
This Staples team has a swagger and confidence, and these kids, in talking to them, believe they can win this game, and there's no reason they can't. But they are an underdog here. They have to execute. They can't turn the ball over. Have not done so thus far. Got to win faceoffs. Right now, Jared Levy has won 2 out of 3.
Colin Bannon looking up top for Will Johnson, lost the possession, and it will go to Fairfield. And you just mentioned that little things are so key for Staples when you're facing a team like Fairfield Prep. Cannot make the little mistakes and lose possession.
Yeah, any turnover is critical. This team has so many weapons offensively that they're going to make you pay for turnovers. And you almost have to play an error-free type game if you're in this situation that Staples is in and trying to pull off this upset.
So the Jesuits back with possession. Tim Edmonds working with it, senior going to Harvard next year already with a goal in this one. 1-1 our score with 7:30 left here in the first quarter. Possession now with David White. Gives number 41 Kevin Brown working now against Greg Strauss. And bring it out as Brown. He'll reset here for Fairfield Prep. Looking for the feed down low and close to the cage. Pretty good look, but John Edmonds couldn't hold on to it, and into the stick of Cole Gendels for Staples.
Good ride here for Fairfield Prep. John, I've been impressed by the pressure that Fairfield Prep has come out applying against Staples, but nice job with the clear for the Wreckers.
So now Staples with the possession offensively. It's Strauss behind the cage. Being covered hotly by number 6, Andrew Hatton here for Fairfield Prep. Now it's up top with Joey Zelkowitz, a football standout for Staples as well.
Headed off to Middlebury. He's got the quick feet, agile player. He's put up some big numbers this year. There's that pressure.
And we talk about turnovers being an issue. Ball still loose, and Rutgers able to recover, but John Basilio nearly had it taken away. So now it's up top again with Basilio, gives for Zelkowitz. 6:15 left here in quarter number 1. John Lauder, Joe Lombardi with you. MSG Varsity Connecticut Class L State Championship game here at Brian McMahon High School in Norwalk, Connecticut. Zelkowitz working against. And that one is good for Joey Zelkowitz. Pardon my pause, because it looked at first like that one went wide to the right, but that one is good for Zelkowitz, working against number 25, Riley Hoffman for Fairfield Prep, and Zelkowitz gets it done. The nice spin move and the quick shot is good, and Staples up 2-1 now, 6:03 left in the first.
Zelkowitz is such an elusive player. He's got a low center of gravity. He shoots from a variety of release points, and he is just difficult to defense. And right there, the cagey Zelkowitz, as we mentioned, known for his football exploits on the FCAC champion Staples football team, with a big goal as Staples regains the lead, and now Levy 3 out of 4 on faceoffs.
And the Wreckers have a chance to win this one if they can keep winning faceoffs. And I was just about to mention before Zelkowitz scored the big height difference between Zelkowitz and Riley Hoffman, but you mentioned the low center of gravity, and that worked to perfection. Zelkowitz with the quick spin move around Hoffman, and then was able to fire it past Connor Henry in goal for Fairfield Prep. So the Wreckers up 2-1, and with momentum right now is with the possession is Tucker Bobrow. Now it's behind the cage with Colin Bannon. And a solid first quarter of play thus far here for Staples. Have to keep this close, and right now I think their plan pretty much working to perfection against Fairfield Prep.
Yeah, and now we're seeing what I thought we would see right from the get-go, a more settled offense. But this Staples team, it's not going to pull the upset without continuing to be aggressive. So while you want to be patient, you don't want to get up and down, you want to shorten the game a little bit time-wise, you got to look to score too.
Zelkowitz with the shot, and another goal for Joey Zelkowitz. Firing that one from deep, and Zelkowitz, what a start here for the Wreckers. 2 straight goals for the senior. And Staples now with a 3-1 lead with 5:01 left to go here in quarter number 1.
And a huge roar from the Staples fans here at Brian McMahon High School in Norwalk. They're feeling it right now. Back-to-back goals by Zelkowitz, and is Chris Smallkais going to take a timeout? He is going to take a timeout and settle his team down. He is not happy with his Jesuit start.
And mentioning this Fairfield Prep squad just taking the timeout with 5:01 left to go here in the first quarter. Looking back at that 2012 title game last year, Fairfield Prep against Ridgefield, and Prep getting the victory. But they played Ridgefield before the finals this year and were able to beat them this year as well. But taking a look back at that 2012 game.
Yeah, you know, you look at the history of Fairfield Prep lacrosse, and 8 straight state title game appearances. The Jesuits had won 5 in a row, but had not won the previous 2 years prior to last year. So to go out and beat Ridgefield by 2 goals in the final was huge for Chris Smallkais and his program as they reclaim the state championship. So it has been quite a run here for Fairfield Prep.
And you mentioned the 4 straight: Norwalk 2006, Greenwich 2007, Ridgefield 2008, and Simsbury 2009. But then you mentioned losing 2 years in a row to Cheshire and Ridgefield, and that Fairfield Prep getting their revenge the next year. That was last year against Ridgefield, 8-6, and now looking for another championship, which would be their 6th in 8 years. But a great start here for the Wreckers with 3 goals already, and we've only played 7 minutes.
Terrific start. Everything has gone the way it needs to go if Staples is going to continue this. And as big a key as any, what we're looking at right here, the face-off X, and Jared Levy has won 3 out of 4. That's got to continue as well for the Wreckers. But right now, it's an energetic and enthusiastic Staples team.
So it's Levy and Forright working again on the face-off. And that one is scooped up and won by by Fairfield Prep, my apologies, but it's taken away, so Staples gets it back. The turnover for the Wreckers. Bannon with it, the Wreckers looking for more.
That's the type of aggressive play I talked about. It is rare a team with the stick skills and lacrosse IQ of Fairfield Prep will turn the ball over in that position, but that's exactly what happened.
So Fairfield Prep losing possession, and Staples, an impressive start here in quarter number 1. 4:20 left here in the first quarter. 3-1 Wreckers, and Staples back with possession. Bannon behind the cage. Left wing for Johnson. Now back up top, Zelkowitz. And then they'll set up with Strauss. Staples with the deliberate offense, trying to create some space in front of the cage. So far, some really impressive shooting has gotten the goals thus far for the Wreckers. Johnson at the football, 20. Goal line extended for Strauss. Back up top for Zelkowitz. Working on it now is Basilio. Covered defensively by James Marusi.
And I'm surprised we're not seeing more pressure from Fairfield Prep right here. That's how the Jesuits came out, pressuring the ball. Now they are.
Seem to have been on their heels at times in this first quarter. Basilio trying to make the move on Marusi. Thought about it, then brings it back out. Now it exits with Zelkowitz.
And this is good strategy here, John. You built the 3-1 lead, and right now Fairfield Prep is getting a little frustrated. So if you're able to have a long offensive set here.
Johnson with the shot and the score. Staples, their 4th goal in this first quarter. And the frustration is clear for Fairfield Prep. Johnson scores, and Staples up 4-1, 3:06 left in the first quarter.
Good ball movement, finding the open man. It happens to be Will Johnson, and he drills it in, the junior midfielder with time and room. And how about this? Who would have thought a 4-1 Staples lead in the first quarter? That's as many goals as Staples scored in the state semifinal. We talk not just the fact that Staples is leading, but the number of goals here we've seen in the early going.
Well, Rutgers doing a great job offensively, and Fairfield Prep's impatient defensively. They're just not sticking with the play, and they're napping a little bit, and Staples is taking advantage. But if you're Fairfield Prep, I mean, you're only down 3. It's the first quarter. They're a great offensive team. What should their strategy be right now here late in the first?
Well, I think, first of all, to get the ball. They haven't had the ball in a while. The offense has not had an opportunity to get in sync because it has not had possession of the ball.
And Brown has it taken away. Whistle blows. And it's going to be Fairfield Prep's possession.
And early on, the officials have established that this is going to be a physical game and they're not going to call some borderline things. And I think that may play into Staples' advantage. They have a lot of football players out there like Lonergan. Look at
they
the
like
size.
to bang around.
Look at the size of Lonergan, number 10, right in front of the crease, parked right out there. Try shooting around that. I mean, he's a linebacker. His dad played football at Penn State. He's got the football bloodlines. Quinn Mendelson, also a football player, number 25, headed off to Boston University. It's a physical, aggressive defense.
A more physical style definitely benefits the Wreckers here. 2:05 left in the first quarter, 4-1 Staples. I think you had a shot there was Tim Edmonds. He has the only goal thus far for Fairfield Prep, and that was over 7.5 minutes ago. Underhand shot to score there, so Fairfield Prep gets back on the board. David White whipping it past Gendell's in goal, 4-2. So Fairfield Prep now down by 2 goals, 1:53 left here in the first.
White with a big game in the semifinals against Ridgefield, continuing his torrid scoring pace right there, a blistering shot. Here's the bottom line. If Fairfield Prep has the ball, it's going to score. The offense is explosive. Good job of running its offense, John, not getting frustrated into taking bad shots. They didn't. They found White. Good look. He scores. Important goal here for the Jesuits.
So face-off H. Jared Levy and Troy Forright again. So Fairfield Prep now down by 2. So a very exciting first quarter of play. We thought Staples would have to keep it more low scoring, but they do have 4 goals thus far, but Fairfield Prep can score at a moment's notice. So Brown with it at the football 30 here near side. 1:33 left in this first quarter. Now it's with Sims, headed to Princeton next year. He's been 2 seasons. Sims just a junior. Very talented athlete in the midfield for Fairfield Prep. Now it's back with White. Defended by Strauss as he goes behind the cage. White looking to make a move. The feet in front of the cage, the shot, and the score. And that is Tim Edmonds on the perfect feed from White. Edmonds has scored twice. And in the blink of an eye, Fairfield's back down by just 1 with 1:05 left. Here in the first quarter, it's 4-3.
Fairfield Prep running its offense to perfection. White from X looking for the cutter, and he finds Edmonds. Perfectly placed pass, nice catch, great release by Edmonds. He's off to the big start after having 3 against Ridgefield in the semis. He already has 2, John. We're not even through the first quarter of play.
Have a minute left to go in the first, and Fairfield Prep wins another face-off. So after Staples was dominant early, on face-offs. Fairfield Prep now starting to bring the pressure on the face-off and offensively. Strecker Backey bring it all the way up defensively, but then Fairfield Prep lost it. We do have a whistle. And Fairfield Prep will have it back. So the Jesuits with the possession down by 1:43 seconds left here in the first.
Fairfield Prep getting possession of the ball and has scored back-to-back goals after Staples jumped out to the stunning 4-1 start.
White with it. Great distributor, but also a scorer as well, has shown us both sides of his game. 18 seconds left in the first. That shot is saved there by Gendels, coming up with a nice play. So 10 seconds left in this first quarter. Ball right at the midfield line, down to 8 seconds. Team still battling.
And offsides is going to be the call, but we're seeing a lot of back and forth, pushing and shoving, and aggressive play on the part of both these teams. That's lacrosse. I mean, it's an aggressive game.
Zelkowitz with the shot. That one will go wide. Clock stops with a second left here in the first quarter.
Zelkowitz just looking to get a shot off, almost like in basketball where you heave it up from midcourt before the end of the quarter. Knowing you're going to have a face-off to start the second quarter, might as well just let it rip.
So that's the end of quarter number one, and an exciting first quarter of play after one in this Class L state championship. Staples with a 4-3 lead over Fairfield Prep here on MSG Varsity.
Sports Desk is your destination for the top stories, top plays, and top players. Top shelf in the tri-state area. All the hard-hitting action, the drama.
Can they beat the club?
Featuring the biggest rivalries. Get the most complete coverage of the best in high school sports with High School Sports Desk, Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. only on MSG Varsity.
I lost a friend to pancreatic cancer. This disease is deadly. Bottom line, we need to beat it. The Lustgarten Foundation funds research to find a cure, and Cablevision support ensures that 100% of every dollar donated to the foundation goes directly to pancreatic cancer research. CurePC.org is the way to join Lustgarten and Cablevision. Fight pancreatic cancer. Get involved. Visit CurePC.org. Do it today.
This weekend, hit the diamond with MSG Varsity for the best in high school baseball and softball. We'll take you around the bases with full game coverage of the top teams in the tri-state area. From the first pitch to the final out. Don't miss baseball and softball this weekend at your home for high school sports, MSG Varsity.
Second quarter about to get underway here from Brian McMahon High School. John Lauder and Joe Lombardi with you at MSG Varsity. Connecticut Class L State Championship of Boys Lacrosse. Staples, a excellent first quarter, up 4-3 over Fairfield Prep, and the Wreckers winning the face-off, and that shot is whipped quickly by number 23, Jack Greenwald, but saved away by Henry.
Can't keep it in, and Staples will get it right back. Greenwald is a good athlete, number 23, with outstanding foot speed, junior midfielder, and I like the fact that off the face-off win, he looked to get a transition goal. Whenever you're looking to pull an upset and you have transition opportunities, you have to look to attack off them and not let the defense get settled. Fairfield Prep has an outstanding defense with Strecker back in there, Andrew Hatton and Anthony Johnson as the closed defenders in front of goaltender Connor Henry.
Fairfield Prep unable to keep possession, so Staples with it back. Just some thoughts on that first quarter. Obviously, Staples, more goals than we would have expected, and with the 4-3 lead.
Well, the one thing I would say is a tremendous start for Staples, but Fairfield Prep took their punch, came back with a couple of quick goals. Now, if you're Staples, John, you're not going to win a game where the pace is 7 goals in a period. They need to settle things, and I think that's a little bit of what we're seeing right here. And I think you need to do that offensively and defensively.
As that shot over the cage from number 6, Tucker Bobrow.
He'd tell you it was a pass.
So Basilio now with it, gives to Johnson, who has a goal so far here for Staples. Zelkowitz with 2, Johnson with 1, and Colin Bannon with the other. Zelkowitz looking for a third, but that one sails over the cage. Staples will keep possession then for Fairfield Prep. Tim Edmonds with 2 goals, the other one courtesy of David White. So Bannon gives for Johnson. And the Wrecker certainly more deliberate here on offense starting the second quarter.